Hi, this is David. Before we get started, a quick note for those that asked about financially donating to the channel. There is now a link in the description that links to our PayPal account. Any amount helps us keep this channel going, and I thank you in advance. Jim Croce was born January 10th, 1943, although some sources say 1942, in South Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to James Albert Croce and Flora Mary Croce. Croce grew up in Upper Darby, Pennsylvania, a suburb of Philadelphia, and attended Upper Darby High School. Graduating in 1960, he studied at Malvern Preparatory School for a year before enrolling at Villanova University, where he majored in psychology and minored in German. Croce received a Bachelor's of Science in Social Studies degree in 1965. He was a member of the Villanova Singers and the Villanova Spears. When the Spears performed off campus or made recordings, they were known as the Coventry Lads. Croce was also a student disc jockey at WKVU, which has since become WXVU. Croce did not take music seriously until he studied at Villanova, where he formed bands and performed at fraternity parties, coffee houses, and universities around Philadelphia, playing anything that the people wanted to hear. Blues, rock, a cappella, railroad music, anything. Croce's band was chosen for a foreign exchange tour of Africa, the Middle East, and Yugoslavia. He later said, "We just ate what the people ate, lived in the woods, and played our songs." Of course, they didn't speak English over there, but if you mean what you're singing, people understand. On November 29, 1963, Croce met his future wife, Ingrid Jacobson, at the Philadelphia Convention Hall during a hootenanny, where he was judging a contest. Croce released his first album, Facets, in 1966, with 500 copies pressed. The album had been financed with $500, or $3,988 in 2020 dollars, a wedding gift from Croce's parents, who set a condition that the money must be spent to make an album. They hoped that he would give up music after the album failed and use his college education to pursue a respectable profession. However, the album proved a success, with every copy sold. Now, Croce married Jacobson in 1966 and converted to Judaism, as his wife was Jewish. He and Ingrid were married in a traditional Jewish ceremony. He enlisted in the Army National Guard in New Jersey that same year to avoid being drafted and deployed to Vietnam, and served on active duty for 4 months, leaving for duty a week after his honeymoon. Croce, who was not good with authority, had to go through basic training twice. He said he would be prepared if there was ever a war where we have to defend ourselves with mops. From the mid-1960s to early 1970s, Croce performed with his wife as a duo. At first, their performances included songs by artists such as Ian and Sylvia, Gordon Lightfoot, Joan Baez, and Arlo Guthrie, but in time they began writing their own music. During this time, Croce got his first long-term gig at a suburban bar and steakhouse in Lima, Pennsylvania, called the Riddle Paddock. His set list covered several genres, including blues, country, rock and roll, and folk. Now, it was in 1968 that the Croces were encouraged by record producer Tommy West to move to New York City. The couple spent time in the Kingsbridge section of the Bronx and recorded their first album with Capitol Records. During the next 2 years, they drove more than 300,000 miles, playing at small clubs and concerts on the college concert circuit, promoting their album Jim and Ingrid Croce. Becoming disillusioned by the music business in New York City, they sold all but one guitar to pay the rent and returned to Pennsylvania countryside, settling in an old farm in Lindell, where he played for $25 a night. or $167 in 2020 dollars, which was not enough money to live on. So Croce was forced to take odd jobs such as driving trucks, construction work, and teaching guitar to pay the bills while continuing to write songs, often about the characters he would meet at the local bars and truck stops, and his experiences at work. These provided the material for such songs as Big Wheel and Working at the Car Wash Blues. The Croces returned to Philadelphia, and Croce decided to be serious about becoming a productive member of society. I'd worked construction crews, and I'd been a welder while in college, but I'd rather do other things than get burned. His determination to be serious led to a job at Philadelphia's R&B AM radio station, WHAT, where he translated commercials into, quote, soul. I'd sell airtime to Bronco's pool room, and then write the spot. You want to be cool? You want to shoot pool? Dig it? In 1970, Croce met classically trained pianist-guitarist and singer-songwriter Murray Mullinson from Trenton, New Jersey, through producer Joe Salviolo. Salviolo and Croce had been friends when they studied at Villanova University, and Salviolo had met Mullinson when he was teaching at Glassboro State College in New Jersey. Salviolo brought Croce and Mullinson together at the production office of Tommy West and Terry Cashman in New York City. Croce at first backed Mullinson on guitar, but gradually their roles reversed, with Mullinson adding a lead guitar to Croce's music. When Jim Croce and Ingrid discovered they were going to have a child, Croce became more determined to make music his profession. He sent a cassette of his new songs to a friend and producer in New York City in the hopes that he could get a record deal. When their son, Adrian James, referred to as AJ, was born in September 1971, Ingrid became a stay-at-home mom, while Jim went on the road to promote his music. In 1972, Croce signed a 3-record contract with ABC Records, releasing 2 albums, You Don't Mess Around with Jim and Life and Times. The singles, You Don't Mess Around with Jim, Operator, That's Not the Way It Feels, and Time in a Bottle all received airplay. Also that year, the Croce family moved to San Diego, California. Croce began appearing on television, including his national debut on American Bandstand on August 12th, The Tonight Show on August 14th, and The Dick Cavett Show on September 20th and 21st. Croce began touring the United States with Mullinson, performing in large coffee houses, on college campuses, and at folk festivals. However, his financial situation remained precarious. The record company had fronted him the money to record, and much of his earnings went to pay back the advance. It was in February of 1973 that Croce and Mullinson traveled to Europe, performing in London, Paris, Amsterdam, Monte Carlo, Zurich, and Dublin, and receiving positive reviews. Croce made television appearances on The Midnight Special, which he co-hosted on June 15th, and The Helen Reddy Show on July 19th. Croce's biggest single, Bad Bad Leroy Brown, reached number 1 on the American charts in July. From July 16th through August 4th, Croce and Mullinson returned to London and performed on the Old Grey Whistle Test, where they sang Lover's Cross and Working at the Car Wash Blues from their upcoming album, I've Got a Name. Croce finished recording the album just a week before his death. While on tour, he increasingly got homesick and decided to take a break from music and settle with Ingrid and AJ when his Life and Times tour ended. In a letter to Ingrid, which arrived after his death, Croce told her he had decided to quit music and stick to writing short stories and movie scripts as a career and withdraw from public life. On the night of Thursday, September 20th, 1973, during Croce's Life and Times tour, and the day before his ABC single I Got a Name was released, Croce and all 5 others on board were killed when their chartered Beechcraft E-18S crashed into a tree during takeoff from the Natchitoches Regional Airport in Louisiana. Croce was 30 years old. Others killed in the crash were pilot Robert N. Elliott, Croce's bandmate Maury Mulinson, comedian George Stevens, manager and booking agent Kenneth D. Cortez, and road manager Dennis Rast. An hour before the crash, Croce had completed a concert at Northwestern State University's Panther Coliseum in Natchitoches. He was flying to Sherman, Texas for a concert at Austin College. He died a day after fellow musician Graham Parsons. An investigation by the NTSB named the probable cause as the pilot's failure to see the obstruction due to physical impairment and because fog reduced his vision. The 57-year-old Elliott suffered from severe coronary artery disease and had run 3 miles to the airport from a motel. He had an ATP certificate, 14,290 hours total flight time, and 2,190 hours in the Beech 18 type airplane. A later investigation placed the sole blame on pilot error because of his downwind takeoff into a quote-unquote black hole of severe darkness, limiting his use of visual references. Croce was buried at Haim Salam Memorial Park in Fraser, Pennsylvania. Okay, that's the end of our video. I sure hope you enjoyed it. If you like this type of video and want us to keep producing them, please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you very much for watching.